Thank you. Thank you, thank you. How close am I supposed to hold the mic to my face? This close? As close as possible. Like this, Bobby. Are you sure? Wait, can you, both hands. All right, so I'm gonna talk like this, guys. All right, let me try to not stand in the light because this is bright. I'm also gonna stand on this side because that speaker's right there. What's up, guys? So my name's Andre. I've been coming to BnP for many, many years. This is my first time speaking. This is my first time giving this presentation. So it's all new to me. It's probably gonna be all new to you too, and so that's all part of the fun. Okay, so I'm not a doctor, a therapist, or a mental health professional. Just throwing that out there, given the context of what we'll be talking about. I am a Silicon Valley engineer. I went to UC Berkeley, worked for Amazon, Apple, Pandora, the company that owns Nordic Track. Part of that is being a professional debugger. Debugging is something you do in software where something goes wrong, you have to figure out what's wrong. And the best way to do that is to find the root cause of the problem and solve it at the root cause. And so I get paid lots of money to do that. I'm also very passionate about efficiency, optimization, and practical tools and finding the best tool for the job, something which is not always easy. Okay, so with this talk, I expect to either blow your minds or you're gonna think I'm crazy, or both. Maybe you already think I'm crazy, so I only have to blow your minds left, but we'll see what happens. Takeaways from this talk, I'm just gonna tell you up front, are that self-energy work can release your insecurities, heal your body and mind, improve your life in general, and in bed. And that this is a skill you can learn, and it's the lowest level at which to work at, because the buck stops there. Come on. There we go. All right, so to give you guys a little background, so that all of this makes sense, and this is kind of the journey of how I got to this point, because it's been a journey, that's for damn sure, is in 2016, I was living in Oakland, I was unhappy, I had an office job, even though I was commuting like 7 minutes every day, which wasn't so bad. But just wasn't happy, so I decided to become a digital nomad and start traveling and, change my life. So after making that all finally happen, in mid-2017, I finally left, jumped on a plane, went to Bolivia, and that was the beginning of my digital nomad remote life. I was traveling South America. I met entrepreneurs for the first time. I read The Millionaire Fast Lane, which changed my life. And huzzah, life was great. Click, no, click. For about 3 months. Life was great for about a total of 3 months. In late 2017, I was visiting my parents for a week, and during that week, my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. It was 4 months of hell for me, because the meds he was on made him manic, and I had so much stress just completely onboarded into my system, into my body. I could feel it, it was driving me crazy. And my dad, ever since that point, remained mentally and physically different. I remember I rented a Maserati for us for Father's Day, and his brain tumor, and because of the surgery, right, he could have like a spasm or a seizure like at any minute. And he could still drive. And so we were out driving through the roads of California, and I was sitting in the passenger seat the whole time freaking out. Like, what if my dad has a seizure while we're driving this car down the road at however fast we were driving? So all very, very stressful. After 4 months, after Christmas, I was like, I gotta get out of here, I gotta go. And then, in late 2017, during those 4 months, I was trying to figure out business, because I just read the book, met the entrepreneurs, I was like, I'm gonna change my life's gonna be great. I was like, I can do this business thing, I can figure it out, I'm a smart guy. I was sitting at my desk, and I was like, okay, anything I do with business, I'm gonna have to put myself out there, ask people for money, tell them what I'm doing, convince them that what I have is valuable, blah, 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 blah. And I sat there and my brain said, I can't do this. I felt completely defeated. Before I'd even started, I sat down on the floor, probably should have cried, but didn't. And that's when I was like, something is wrong with me. Something's not right with my brain. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I believing that I can't do this? Add to that a perfect storm of things which I still don't know exactly what is responsible, but it's just been a bunch of stuff. So late 2017, stress from my dad and from my family was an insane amount of stress. Early 2018, right after I left my parents' house, at New Year's, I went to a salsa congress in Reno, Nevada, did a dance class where we were doing lifts, lifted my partner onto my shoulder, neck went this way, wasn't good, tweaked it, wasn't the same since, but it didn't really hurt enough for me to like go to a doctor and get proper therapy and stuff, so I just kind of lived with it for the next ever. A few months later, I went to Mexico, spent 6 weeks in Mexico City, got super, super sick 2 days before I was supposed to jump on a plane, took 2 pills of antibiotics, which completely blew away all my gut flora, and I couldn't digest food the same ever since. And I spent 3 years in that state trying to figure that out. That was fun. Finally did. But it was the amount of stress combined with the pills that just things never really went back to normal on their own. And I had this kind of black hole feeling in the center of my chest that I ended up carrying around for a long time. Kind of like a lump in your throat, you know, you kind of feel something like, okay, there's no actual lump, but something is clearly there, clearly going on. And I carried that for a long time, wasn't really sure what to do with it, how to get rid of it. I'd kind of talk to people about it. No one could really help me. So I kept traveling, and after a while I realized I was still unhappy, even though I was spending weekends in Venice and Rome and, you know, in Italy or wherever I was. And I wasn't making any business progress, so I decided, all right, something's not right. I gotta get this shit taken care of. And another piece of it, which I've recently come to learn, is that for my whole life, I've been keeping shit bottled up inside and not really letting things out or expressing, which is a key part of all of this. So the symptoms that I had, there's a lot of them, as you can see. Some of the big ones are, got a laser pointer here somewhere, right? This black hole of toxic sludge thing, that was a big one. A lot of negative self-talk. I started stuttering one day. I was like, what the hell's going on with me? I do not stutter. A lot of muscle spasms and twitches, trouble falling asleep, sexual issues, that one was really interesting. Anxiety, so I never thought of myself as an anxious person or having anxiety. When I was in Puerto Rico, I started doing neurofeedback therapy, and they start with a brain scan of your whole brain. And they said, yeah, there's anxiety here, there's anxiety here, there's anxiety here, there's anxiety all over your brain. And I was like, holy shit, that's not good. What else do we have? Other stuff. Alexithymia basically means unemotional. You've lost touch with your emotions, you're kind of emotionally numb. I remember wanting to want, and just like, I was like, I need to feel something. And a lot of these symptoms, and some other ones, was interesting for me to learn that are very similar to symptoms of PTSD. And I put T in a little t because there's a difference between capital T trauma and little t trauma. When people think of trauma, they think of wars, veterans, you know, stuff like that. But little t trauma can be other things like emotional neglect, something that wasn't there, or little things over the years that kind of add up, as in my case. You could say that the experience with my dad was more kind of capital T trauma, big T, but a lot of little things along the way as well. Come on. All right. So I was trying to figure out, no, I skipped a slide. Yep. One more time. There we go. Okay, so I was like, well, shit, I've got all this crap, now what? With the kind of base question being, how do I let go of this stuff? Because I knew I had it, and I wanted to get rid of it. And you talk to a lot of people, you read a lot of books, they say, oh, do this and this and this, and just let it go. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't tell me what to do. So I tried all of this stuff and more. A lot of meditating, several therapists, coaches, read tons of books, breath work, psilocybin, that was interesting, that was fun. Meditating on weed, that was actually really cool. I saw an energy healer. She just talked about angels for an hour. Didn't do anything for me. Acupuncture is super cool. Massage, neurofeedback therapy. My body was super tight, so I used to work out a lot, and then I was like, well, let me try not working out. So I stopped working out for 2 years, and my body was still tight, so that didn't work. I went vegan. I did carnivore, which I'm still on now. This is actually the only thing that healed my gut, by the way, after taking the antibiotics and my gut flora getting completely destroyed. Carnivore is the only thing that fixed that after all the other things I tried. Side note. Lots of hanging out in saunas and trying biohacking stuff and more. Click. All right, so this is what I wanted to do, right? I was like, I need to improve my life. This is where I was at, which a lot of us can be at, right? We have our goals. We're stuck in the middle because our emotions are pulling us down. I wanted to get to this point where I had my goals and my emotions were helping with my goals and pushing me forward, which is what I finally done. And so this idea of addition by subtraction, removing stuff to go from here to here, rather than adding more stuff, more motivation, more goals, more habits, more this, more sleep, more that, right? What can you actually remove to get to this point? Mid-2019, what do I have here? I decided to get serious about this shit. So I was still traveling, and I decided I was gonna move to Puerto Rico, moved with a couple fast lane guys. I'm gonna be best man in one of their weddings in a month. I moved there to focus on starting an actual business, getting my health right, physical health, and my mental health right, because all three of those definitely needed help. I started meditating a lot because I realized from a lot of studying that I'd done that that's probably the only thing that's going to really help somehow, and that I'm the only person that can change me. All the other help I had tried to get wasn't helping. So I had to kind of figure this out on my own and basically debug myself. And then two things happened which have really made all the difference, and this is where things start to get fun. So one day, come on, maybe I'll just stand on this side. One day I was meditating, and I was following a guided meditation, but still kind of doing my own thing. I felt a piece of that black hole thing in my chest literally just like fizzled away. And I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? That was interesting. But it felt great, it felt tingly, and I felt lighter afterwards. And I don't know what it was, but I just know I needed to keep doing it. And the more I did it, the better I felt, the less I felt that hole in my chest to the point where it was basically gone. And the times that I felt it that I didn't feel it, right, got longer and longer and longer to the point where it just wasn't a part of my daily life anymore. I knew it was having some kind of effects. I still didn't know what it was, right? I was still trying to figure all this out. I just knew, okay, I found this thing, this works, I'm just gonna keep doing this. And then COVID happened, and that was great. And I started doing some Wim Hof breathing, and one day I did that, then was laying down on the couch to do some meditation, and my right arm just felt a little restless. So I kind of flexed it, like at 10% of like actually flexing it, basically giving it some energy, and it just started shaking just on its own. It just started moving. I was like laying down on the couch, and it started just shaking. Then I did it again the next day, and then my legs started to shake. And then I did it the next day, and my whole body started to shake. And I was like, what the heck is going on with me? Something's gotta be wrong. And that led me down to the whole rabbit hole of figuring out what the heck is going on with me. But the more I did it, the better my body and mind became. And I was just more and more curious about what's even going on here. So ever since then, through to today, I've done these two things, right? The meditating with the whole tingly sensation, and I've been doing this body shaking thing. And with those two things, I've let go a lot of deep insecurities that I've held. You have to dig for it, right? And there's a whole process, but this is the how-to that I was looking for years. With that and understanding myself better and the human condition better, I've built much deeper relationships. When I used to wonder, like, how the heck do people have deep relationships? Like, how do people do this? And that's something I've learned just by kind of diving into myself. I've cleared a lot of brain fog. I've been living a lot more authentically. I've increased my income. And this is one of the first things that started. I felt back in my own skin. And when I first started doing that whole tingly thing, like my hands literally started feeling softer and warmer. And my skin just started looking cleaner. People would literally tell me, Andre, your skin looks cleaner. Like, what are you doing? You'll look different in the mirror as you do this. It's crazy. Come on. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. How am I doing on time?
25 minutes.
Perfect. Okay, so think about a time where you had a wave of anger or sadness or something and you didn't feel like you could express it. You were surrounded by people or your parents or whatever. What do you do in that situation? You push it down because you don't want to feel it, you don't want to show it. We bottle it up. And animals have a natural way of shaking off their energy. It's called a trauma cycle. So you're going to see this in the video. Animal gets chased by predator. Predator catches animal. Animal freezes, right? Fight or flight, and then they freeze. All that adrenaline, they soak it up into their body. If for some reason the predator walks away, the prey will get up. And after it gets up, it will literally start shaking. And if it doesn't, oh, there it is. If it doesn't, it will die. So here we have no sound. Actually, I don't think there's sound in this one. So cheetah caught an impala, and I'm going to fast forward through some of this, but okay, so there's a hyena somewhere around here. So you can see that the impala is not dead. It's in freeze mode, right? It's in freeze state. So if after fight or flight, you enter freeze. And then these two baboons literally come around and like chase the cheetah away. Why cheetah's scared of a couple baboons? I don't know, but I guess baboons can be pretty vicious.
There's a whole soup going on.
So cheetah's gone, baboon runs away, impala's just kind of frozen. Look, eye open, not even blinking, just literally frozen. And then it starts to breathe. You can kind of see it breathing. And it just does that for a while. And then I think the people that film this like turn their cameras off or something because it just breathes and breathes and breathes. Okay, and then in a few seconds, the scene's gonna change. And you're gonna see this impala literally just start to freak out. There we go. And it just does this for however long it takes, and then it just gets up and walks away. And they've seen this in animals in like, I don't know if they're animal refugee type places in Africa, and they have to let them do this before they release them back into the wild, and if they don't, then they'll die. I don't think it's like a natural cause, like they'll just kind of fall over one day. I imagine something in their nervous system and their brains is probably not right, and then they probably get eaten or something. I don't know if that's been documented enough, but Impala's just chilling, kind of shaking himself out. I'm gonna get some water while he's shaking and thinking about his life. There he goes.
All right, all good.
Yeah. And then the cheetah comes back, and he's like, wait a minute. Where'd he go? So this was, when I saw this, after my body started shaking, I was like, holy crap. That's the missing piece. This is the first thing that blew my mind. Humans don't shake. But we can, but we don't. And for us, threats aren't survival threats. We're not gonna die, right, in a day-to-day life, but we have social threats, right, where we overthink a lot, or some of us do. We think we might have this like social death, or that's where our threats come from these days, right? It's not from lions and tigers and bears. What's my next video? Okay, so this is me on my therapist's table. I turned the video on, and then after that he raised the table. That's why everything's cut out. But we store all this stress, trauma, emotions in our body. We don't shake, and so we still have it. So we have all these uncompleted trauma cycles that we're walking around with after decades of life. So not great. This guy, Don, is a very specialized, I wouldn't call him even a massage therapist, but he's a body worker, I guess. You can see he's got his hands on my jaw, and he's gonna do these deep strokes. And as he does that, it releases anger that I've been holding in my jaw, which I didn't even know I had. And my whole body starts to shake, and then I start to literally just yell and scream. And you'll hear him say loud, like louder. And that just goes on for a couple minutes. And so all of the things that you carry, you just start to let go as you start to do some of this work. And I'm not making my body shake, it's just doing it. I'm just letting it happen. This is a wild session. I've seen this guy like every week for like 8 months. Building up to like this level of release. He's not electrocuting me, no. You can see he's just sitting there, right? He's just sitting there, hands in his lap, and I'm just freaking out. Having this like self-exorcism. So like I'm not an angry person for sure, and I haven't been for most of my life, and this is what happens if you bottle all your shit up for 30 years. So don't do that. Not that like this wasn't painful or anything too, right? It's like it needs to happen, it needs to flow, it needs to come out. And there's other videos. You can see some videos like Elliot Hulse. You guys know Elliot Hulse? There's some videos of him, maybe not freaking out this much, but you know, having massage done and then like really yelling and letting it out. It just keeps going. Like it blows my mind. It really blows my mind how much energy there is that we store. Anyone think I'm crazy yet? Because there's more.
You haven't tried a dynamic meditation by Osho?
I've tried so many things.
Where you like jump it all out?
I've tried so many things. Yeah. I've tried a lot of stuff. All right, it only gets better and even more freaky. Okay, so everything before this slide I've experienced, right? So everything up till now, I'm basically self-taught, figured all this out on my own because I had to. I'm still doing this body work. I actually have a session with Dawn literally on Monday. As part of the journey, I saw that there's 2 more videos. And when I saw them, I was like, holy crap. This is possible? It blows my mind. And to me, it's just super motivating to keep going and learning about this stuff. So this guy, this is a Netflix episode, which, by the way, screen recording anything on Netflix is freaking impossible. So I had to do this with my phone. But, what? Oh, for sure. Yeah, this stuff is insane. This is from an episode from a show called Sex, Love, and Goop. And, no, this is from the Goop show. It's different. And this is I think the 2nd episode maybe, called The Energy Experience. I saw that and I was like, holy shit. That guy charges $2,500 for a 2-hour session if you can get him booked. He's based out of LA. It's insane. What else was I going to say with that one? Oh, so he's moving energy in people, right? So all the stuff I was doing before, I've come to realize, okay, I'm moving energy within myself. And so the next level, clearly, is you can move energy within other people. And this is just your qi, right? This is what the ancient Chinese tradition calls qi. And you can do it in other people, which that blew my mind. And you can do it within your own body, and that's that kind of tingly feeling that I've been feeling. And then I saw this video. And this is from the Sex, Love, and Goop show on Netflix, also by Gwyneth Paltrow. If you want to avert your eyes, you can. There's no nudity. There's barely any touching, but this is sexual in nature. Who wants to be that guy? I do. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. So seeing, it blows my freaking mind. Like if this is possible, which clearly it is, you can move energy not just to last longer in bed. So if you've read books, and maybe you haven't, I'm reading one right now. But there was a guy here, last year, 2 years ago, who helped men with problems in the bedroom. And what it comes down to is you learn how to move the sexual energy from your growing up into your body and through it. And so you can obviously do that for yourself internally, but you can also completely transform your sex life with your partner, which is kind of cool. So back to the takeaways. Starting to work at this level of stuff, you can release the insecurities that you've been carrying, you can heal your body and your mind, you can improve your life in general and in bed, and you can learn this. That's what I've been figuring out. I've been self-taught for a lot of this stuff, but starting to take it more seriously. And there's a couple quotes that I want to share with you that kind of rang true for me along my journey. The first one, they're both by Michael Singer in the book The Untethered Soul, which is a great book. This guy is the founder of WebMD, billionaire, super successful. The pain we carry is the noise inside our heads. When I was starting my journey, I knew my head was loud, the voice in my head just wouldn't stop, it was uncontrollable, and it was negative, so that combination was terrible. And when I read this, I was like, yes, this is true, this has to be true. So the work that I'd started to do, and the more I did it, the more the noise in my head went away, which is great. And he also says in that book that there's a place deep inside of you where the consciousness touches the energy and the energy touches the consciousness. That's where your work is. From that place, you let go. So it takes practice, right, to be able to get to that point within your own body. But once you do, then you're working at that lowest level place to actually start letting go of things that you've been carrying for so long. And I don't know what that slide was, but that's it. Thank you. Chuck.
So when you were on the table shaking, where was your head at? Were you in a meditative state? Were you reliving trauma? Where was your head at?
For me, no. For some people, yeah, memories can come up, right? And everyone's different. Everyone's energy is different, so it can come out. And it depends on where in your body, what you're holding on to. My head was, it was just whatever was coming, I was just going to let it flow. Right? In this case, in that video, it was anger. In other times, it's laughter. In other times, it's crying but not being sad, if that makes sense, right? But just letting that still kind of come.
Were you feeling the anger?
Yeah. 30 years of it.
You ever done, I assume you probably have done ayahuasca, or have you ever done bufo?
Almost did bufo when I was in Puerto Rico. Didn't do it. Don't really have a desire to do ayahuasca. I have a theory about ayahuasca. There's definitely the mental part of it, but also what happens in ayahuasca for a lot of people is you purge, you vomit, you kind of shit yourself. And what happens physically in your body while you're doing those things? You're heavily contracting these muscles.
Shaking.
And shaking, right? And so it's a lot of this physical release component too. And that's how, we have a lot of our energy, like the guy said in the video, in our organs, in the deep tissue, in the muscles. And the way to contract those is by vomiting or, vomiting out the other end. So it's interesting. I still need to kind of do some more research and stuff, but.
Come to Playa, we'll do bufo.
One day.
So when you started shaking to get into that state, was there any particular thought that triggered it?
No, so when I'm seeing my therapist, right, it's purely physical. He's literally squeezing energy out of a place, releasing the myofascia, kind of peeling them apart because they stick together, which is where the energy is trapped, and then it flows. No, for the physical stuff, it can be related to a thought. And again, everyone's different, but in my experience, a lot of the kind of internal energy level stuff definitely can be related to thoughts. And I've released stuff that can just be like one word, like unwanted or cheater. And it just, you can feel that kind of fizzle away. But it's different for everybody.
So for you, that was primarily in response to physical stimulus.
I'm sorry?
So for you, that was primarily in response to physical stimulus from.
When I see Don, yeah, but I've done a lot of work. I only met Don like 8 months ago. I've been doing this stuff for years. Andres.
So, where's the starting point that you recommend for people to follow a similar path?
So I recommend you start with the mind, because the mind is with you every day, every second of every day, and it's one of the places most people never go. So, and this is what I'm putting a course together, right, to start teaching people this. But start there, and you can start with like the insecurities and stuff that come up. And that's the way my journey went. I'd done that stuff for years, and then there was a point where I was like, there's got to be a physical component to this as well, because I feel better mentally. A lot of that noise was kind of cleared. There's got to be more that I haven't touched on yet, and that's when I started learning about all the physical stuff.
You say mind, you say therapy, you say meditation, you say what's, you know?
So yeah, if you say meditation is like the word sports, right? There's a million different types of meditation. So I'm calling it MindWorks. I don't know if there's, you can call it like inner energy work, self-somatic therapy, you could call it. Somatic therapy is a good place to start if you want to get somebody else to kind of walk you through stuff. But yeah, starting to work with like the internal is where I would start. I know there are more hands over here too. Max.
So how often do you have to see Don, and how much does something like that cost?
How often do I have to see him?
Have to or want to?
Yeah, I see him once a week. I've been seeing him once a week pretty much for about 8 months. He charges $200 for 90 minutes. I sent a friend of mine there, and she said he charges $250 for 90 minutes. So it's not cheap. He's very specialized. He's been doing this for like 50 years. Again, the guy, John, in that video, it's what, $2,500 for 2 hours if you can book him. So it's, yeah, not cheap. Justin, or Jason.
In the same period of time that you were feeling, like, I think you call it alexithymia?
Yep.
Nothing? Feeling nothing at all?
Just emptiness, numbness.
So how were you also able to identify this nothingness, this like sludgy black hole?
That was a physical sensation.
Okay.
Right? The numbness was more emotional numbness, but this was like a physical, like toxic feeling.
So deeper into that, when did you start to notice it? Because it becomes normal after so long. When did it become real to you? And what practices did you do to scan and feel like that's not normal?
Yeah, no, this was really bad. I knew it wasn't normal, but I didn't know how to get rid of it, right? So I had to carry it because I didn't have any other tool. So I knew it wasn't normal. The practices was like self-somatic body scanning meditations, and then one day the energy thing just happened, the tingly thing, and I was like, whoa, that did something. And that's been the thing, after all the other things I've tried over the years, that's been the thing that's always worked. Yes?
I've been studying Qigong for many, many years. I started studying Chinese medicine when I was 16. And Dr. Jerry Allen Johnson of 5 Branches Chinese Medicine School in Santa Cruz wrote a textbook after 10 years of studying Qigong in China. And he also did a video. I watched the video for a few years, got it down really well, and then did the video myself for years and years after that. At the beginning of the video, you do a series of exercises to clear the energy. One of the exercises is very similar to what was happening to you on the table. It's like a shaking. I was explaining it yesterday to some people. Like you just start shaking and then you just shake all the way down. But you also do some, it's like he explains it really well, and I can actually teach it like to anybody who wants to like have a session. It's like 30 minutes. But then you go down, you stack the energy on top of itself. You also do a clearing of energy sideways. And then you center yourself again. You go into Wu Qi. Then you do like balancing of the internal organs.
Mhm.
You have 5 yin organs and 5 yang organs. And you balance 5 of those organs. And
Mhm.
then you do energy movement. And actually, I got really good at it, and I was able to start doing not only myself, but other people. And also after that, especially in sexual situations, like if I had an orgasm, then afterwards, I could see people's darkness. So what you're saying, like I could have probably seen, like you had darkness on your chest, and what I would do is I would clear the problems in my partners. So like I've thought about doing this actually for a business, like maybe I can teach people like how to see energy or like how to do energy work when they have sex. But then I was like,
Yeah.
geez, maybe I'm crazy.
Welcome to the club.
But it's totally, you're totally something that I just totally relate to is what you just
Cool.
presented.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I saw another guy, one of Don's students once, and he was, working on me, and he was telling me about how when he's in bed with his wife, he's like moving the energy within her, and she's like, "What are you doing to me?" Just freaking out, having a great time.
Andre, thank you for the presentation. It's amazing how, like, the way you went and where you are. You're aware of the work of Peter A. Levine?
Peter Levine.
Peter Levine.
Yeah, he's the one, he wrote a book called Healing Trauma, I think. That's where I learned about the shaking stuff with the animals at the beginning. Yeah, he was the first guy I found. There's a video I would have shown of him, but not a lot of videos.
You know TRE exercises?
I do.
That's also like really interesting stuff.
That's interesting. TRE is interesting because it's a set of exercises you can do to make your body start to shake. And I watched a video of someone else who was talking about that, and I agree, which is you want to get to the point where you can just let your body start doing it naturally without inducing it by like weakening certain muscles and stuff. But yeah, I started doing some TRE stuff at the beginning. I was like, oh man, there's someone else who's figured this out. Yeah, they're teaching it to like soldiers and war vets and stuff.
And you're also familiar with vagal tone and vagal nerve work? It seems like the pressing some buttons, let's say.
What's it called?
The vagal nerve?
Oh, the vagus nerve, yeah.
The vagus nerve.
I'm curious if mine is damaged, it might be.
For lots of people.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why like deep belly breathing, right? When you do that, you're not triggering, you're stimulating your vagus nerve, which connects to your parasympathetic, right? What?
Parasympathicals, like basically the
parasympathetic nervous system.
We don't steer. There's just heartbeat, like
Yeah,
everything like that.
yeah. Yes.
You continue with that, or you just finish?
No, I haven't done the Wim Hof in a while. Yeah, but I used to do it every day. It was good.
Okay, what type of meditation, again, same question, what type of meditation do you start with for the beginners?
Yeah, if you want to hire somebody, I would find a somatic therapist. Yeah, so somatic, there's somatic work. You can find one remote as well. I would classify the style of meditation I do to be self-somatic, so I just do it myself internally. Yeah.
What
Yo.
was the shaking called that you were doing? What's the exercise?
That's a great question.
Okay.
That's why like a lot of this has been really hard for me to learn, is because this stuff isn't really talked about. There isn't a name for that.
Really?
Yeah, if you look up like trauma cycles, animal shaking, there's a book called Shake It Off Naturally, which I think is written by the guy who did TRE.
So is that what you'd recommend to learn more about?
I haven't read it. No, I haven't read it. Again, you could. You could start with like The Healing Trauma by Peter Levine. That's a good one, for sure. Yeah, and just start doing like some somatic stuff, and you'll start kind of feeling it out. Yeah.
I was just going to share, I've had some of that, not quite as crazy, but
Nice.
just from breath work that I did myself, sort of into the chest, into the stomach, about 80% then into the chest, and then out, just
Yep.
all through the mouth for about 25 minutes.
Yeah, you really charge your body. And we did a breathwork session, last year, I think, with Rosalie, which is cool for me. My body kind of tightens up. Some people will start shaking. Some people will just start crying, right? Everyone is different. But it all comes down to the same thing, right? The core thing, which is just the stuck energy.
So I just sent a link to that video.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And if you want to watch the Netflix episodes, the first one was the Goop show, the energy experience. And then the second one was Sex, Love, and Goop. I think that was the second episode, called What Just Happened to Me. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.